I don't know if you're like me, but when I have a hamburger or a sausage or something in a bun, I always find there's way too much bun and it's way too heavy and it just kind of falls apart and does different things. So what I do instead of making hamburger buns or sausage buns, I make a real thin panini bun. And so that's what I'm going to be doing today, is making panini. I have my levain, which is a little bit of honey, some yeast, fast rising yeast, and some water and some flour. And that's been rising probably for about a half hour. So I can stir that down. It just gives it a head start in the proofing process. So all I'm going to do is add flour. And I don't measure because I just kind of go by the feel of things. So I'll stir that in, and then I'll knead it, and then let it rise. It doesn't take long to make these because they do rise. Add about that much salt, and stir. Okay, so it's already got a start on the yeast working. I'm just going to stir that in and add some more flour so that it's not real sticky. It is a sticky dough. It's quite a light dough. It's also a lean dough. I don't put any kind of shortening or fat or oil or anything in here. It's just a really lean dough. So I'm just going to dump this on my counter. I better flour my counter because it will stick. There, I'll put some off to the side. You can see it's fairly sticky. I will spray my bowl for proofing with a little bit of olive oil, but I'm not going to put any olive oil in the dough. So I'm going to use my bench scraper here because it will be sticky. That there. And start. Get some on my hands and start. It will be sticky, but the more you knead it, it's just like when you do a baguette or any kind of bread that is a high hydration. It is sticky, and the more you knead it, you'll see that it starts taking shape. It's sticking, which is the way it's supposed to. I'll probably knead this for about 10 minutes. So it is sticky, and that's the way it's supposed to be. At least the way I make them, that's the way it is. It's quite a high hydration. And that's what makes the buns or the panini bread so light, is that it's a very high hydration. And so you'll get a really nice big crumb. So I'm going to knead this probably for about 10 minutes. And then I'll show you what it looks like after 10 minutes. All right, see you in 10. So I've been kneading my dough for, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. And I've been kneading it until it just feels just right. Smooth, and it looks nice and smooth. Now, as far as the amount of ingredients, you want to you want to have a fairly high hydration. This is about a 75% hydration. That means for every 100 grams of flour that I use 75 grams of water. So here I'm thinking, I don't measure, but I'm thinking that I probably went with 500 grams of flour and 350 grams of water. So that will give you a fairly high hydration dough, which will give you a really light crumb. And so I've kneaded, and you know it will be sticky. Don't worry about it being sticky. It will get better. Like this has gotten so much better. It's not sticky anymore. Look, my hands are not sticking to it. Look, not sticky at all. So as soon as I feel that it's nice and smooth like that, I kind of do that to give it a little bit of surface tension, and I will spray my bowl with extra virgin olive oil so that it doesn't stick. And then I just plop that in there, and then I will let it rise until it comes like that over the top really nicely. And then I can make my panini. So I'm going to let that rise probably about an hour, and then we'll shape the buns. I'll show you how to do that, how I do it. Look at that. Oop. Take my little shower cap off. That's our panini dough. Do you remember how small it was and how big it is? Look at how much it's risen. And it's, look at that. So I'm just going to dump it like that. Come on. You can do it. There we go. That's our dough. And I'm just going to flour my hands just a little bit, and I suppose bench scrub, I'll take out my big one. Oh, doesn't fit in there. I thought it did. I'm just going to put that there. Nice. So I'm going to put it in this roofing box, and it will spread out. And then when I want to shape my panini, it will be ready to go. So I just let that sit and rise. That's going to make a lot of buns. I might make some cinnamon buns with half of this because that's a lot of buns. I think I should make some cinnamon buns because that would be really good. All right, so I'm just going to let that rise again, probably for another hour. And then we'll make our buns and maybe cinnamon buns. See you later. I managed to get my dough unstuck, and I've sprinkled my counter with cornmeal, and I've sprinkled cornmeal on top here as well. So I'm going to stretch my dough like that, and then I'm going to, I don't want to pop all those bubbles. You can see these air bubbles. I don't want to pop that. So I'm going to cut this in half, and then I'm going to need my bigger pan. Just put that there. And I'm going to run parchment paper going to put these over like this, kind of give them a little bit of shape. And then I let these rise for about a half hour before I put them in a really hot oven. Willie thinks that he'd like some of this. Now this dough's been rising a long time. Unfortunately, a little longer than I would have liked. This is a little bit of an odd shape. Now, I think I will make some cinnamon buns. While these are rising, I'll show you what I do for my cinnamon buns. I don't always have brown sugar, but what I do with my, I'll take about half a cup of sugar. And because I don't have brown sugar, what I do have is this. So I'm going to add a little bit of that. And about that much butter. And I'm going to put that on the stove and make a caramel sauce for the bottom of my pan. Now, because I didn't put any butter in my dough, what I'm going to do is stretch it. And then I am going to put some leaves of butter in there, because cinnamon buns are supposed to be really decadent and delicious. Actually, I don't need to. What I'll do is put these here, that there, and this one here. And then I'm going to do that. Every bit of your cinnamon bun has to be ooey and gooey. And another time. Of course, this almost has to do with my butter addiction. You know how much I love butter, so I just use butter in everything. So I'm just going to do that and then fold that over so that I'm going to have layers of dough and layers of butter. Sometimes when I make cinnamon buns, I forget to put the cinnamon in, and they just don't taste the same. Cinnamon buns. And some people call them cinnamon rolls. We've always called them cinnamon buns. When I was a kid, a cinnamon bun was kind of a special treat. Our grandson, Tom, is spending some time with us while he's in school here. And so I don't feel guilty making these decadent cinnamon buns. Now, what I have to do is put more butter. A lot of butter. I actually could have melted this butter, but here. Now I'll show you my magic trick with my brown sugar. This has got to cook up. This is going to make a caramel for the bottom of my pan. I've buttered my pan. I'm going to put, so this has to melt and it makes a really gooey caramel. I put a little bit of butter in, a little bit of milk in it to make it caramelly. And all that sugar has to melt, so I'm just going to add a little bit of milk. Yeah. My director is holding up the cinnamon, telling me not to forget the cinnamon. The cinnamon goes in later. So this has to cook up a little bit so that sugar melts. Whoops. That can cook up a little bit. Now I'm going to show you what I do with my sugar. I don't have brown sugar, so I figure brown sugar is just white sugar that has been super processed and had all of the molasses taken out. So look at this. We don't live close to a store, so I can't just run out and buy a bag of brown sugar. And I always find too that when I do buy brown sugar, it always goes hard on me. So this is what I do when I need brown sugar. Just mix it up. Look at that, golden brown sugar. Beautiful. There you go. Look at that. Brown sugar in a minute. Spread my sugar. A little bit more right to the edges. I'm not going to put raisins in these. See this? There's the cinnamon. I think there should be lots of cinnamon because they are cinnamon buns. There we go. See how this is doing. Oh, this is perfect. So what I have to do with this is I pour this in the bottom of my pan. See that nice caramel sauce? That's going to make them really sticky and gooey. And kind of spread it all over the bottom. Not too much. There's just enough to cover the bottom. And then, everybody loves pecans. Everybody loves pecans, so I'm going to sprinkle some pecans in there. So so that every bite has a little bit of pecan. And then, oops, roll these babies up. Now remember that there's butter in all the layers of the dough. So they're going to be super gooey and super delicious. Kind of tuck those in, tie those ends in. There. So this will make 9 cinnamon rolls, cinnamon buns. So a third and a third. So you can see the butter. So I put those down like that so that the gooey part is on that. These are so good. Willie loves cinnamon buns too. And he can have these because there are no raisins in them. Tuck some of this extra sugar and cinnamon in on that one and on that one. There, now I let these rise until they fill up the pan, and then I'll bake them probably for about 20 minutes. And then they're going to be so ooey gooey, so good. Tom will love them, so will my cameraman. See you in a bit. So our panini buns have been rising for about 3/4 of an hour after we placed them on the tray. I've preheated my oven to 400 degrees, and I've also placed, if you notice, I've placed a tray in the bottom of the oven, and I've added some water so that there's a high humidity in the oven. So I'm going to put these in here at 400 on the lowest rack possible above the water. And I will check them in about 8 minutes. They don't take very long to cook. I will cook them until they're nice and brown, and then we can have them with our salad and sausages for supper. And the cinnamon buns are slowly doing their thing. They're rising slowly. I'll put those in once those buns come out. I'll turn the heat down a little bit because I don't want them to cook that fast. So, 8 minutes, and we'll be checking those out. Okay, so I'm taking out our panini buns. There they are. They bake probably for about 10, 11 minutes. I've turned the heat down, and I'm going to put these in. There, whoops. There, so those will bake for 15, 20 minutes maybe. So I'm going to remove these. And we'll let them cool a little bit before we put our sausages in them. There we go, panini. They're nice and light and crunchy. So we'll just let those cool, and then we'll put our sausages in. So I've sliced into the bun I'm going to put some honey mustard because we're having honey garlic sausage. And this is sauerkraut and onions. Put that in there. Are you gonna want 2 buns? And the sausage is a little bit big. The sausage is a little bit big. Do you want 2 sausages? 2 buns? I'll put that back. Do you want me to slice it in half? Like that? I'll slice it in half. There we go. And you want a little bit of mayo? Yes. There we go. Oops. And oops. How's that? There you go. Whoops. Panini sausage bun. There you go. So our cinnamon buns have been baking in the oven probably for about 20 minutes. I think longer than normal because I had that pan of water steaming in there. So I'm just going to take them out. And there they are. Oh yeah, they're done. So now I have to do this to get them out of there. Look at all that gooey stuff. I can justify making these because Tom is here and he will enjoy some of those. Otherwise, I don't know how a person could justify eating that. Are delicious, ooey gooey sticky buns. Perfect.